there must have been a sword around here.
Right.
Because all these car alarms are going off. And yet she finds an atom of steel 50 beams away, and yet she couldn't find his sword that he left on top of the light fixture, right?
Just lobs it up like, I'm going to come back for this later.
Is the music playing? What the f- I don't hear anything. Wait, is the music going? I got nothing over here, man. Bath? Did you do that intentionally?
No, I was just blasting the intro song and then realizing it was just playing preview. So it's only playing for me, not for.
It's fine. We'll do that. We'll put it in post, like we always do.
It worked. It's just synchronized. I was just swinging my hands.
I had nothing.
What the hell is wrong with this guy?
We're back though.
Oh man, it's been a hiatus. Well, we're back.
Little summer break, part 2. Spenny, my stream just froze from your laser pointer, whatever the hell that was.
Oh, off to a good start.
Oh, yeah, holy smokes. You like freaking fried your setup over there. Laser pointer at me. Oh, okay.
That was awesome.
As you can tell, nothing much has changed over here.
Nope. Still fresh.
In the Ascension to 10 podcast category.
We're keeping it real.
Yeah.
Keeping it real, and just got to keep it real with ourselves. You know, things have come up. We're back at it. Hopefully we're going to get back on a hot streak here instead of a 2-month, per episode, strategy.
A little bit of regularity, hopefully. We'll see.
Yeah. No, I mean, everybody loves to be regular. So let's get back at it.
Well, add some Miralax to the whole, or what is it?
Yeah.
What am I thinking of? Metamucil.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a whole summer, half summer, basically, since we.
I know.
Well, honestly, since we've even talked to each other, what's going on?
I know. So one of the big things is my whole family went on a vacation recently. We went to the Bahamas last month.
Hell yeah!
And good and bad. There's 18 of us.
Yeah.
So there's good things with having a big group of people. There's a lot to do, but at the same time, it's kind of chaos when there's 18 people. But one of the more exciting things was like my core family. So my wife and our 2 kids were all in one hotel room, and like each family had their own hotel room.
Yeah.
Well, everything was fine except for one night where it was Holden's birthday. That's my son's birthday. He turned 3. So that was, super exciting.
HBD.
Except that he was just fucking loaded with sugar and like freaking the fuck out. And we're in a hotel room, trying to get everybody to calm down. It's bedtime. Mm-hmm. And couldn't get him to calm down. And I mean, normally if the kid's freaking out, like you take them to another room or you do something to calm them down. Well, you can't do that because you're in a hotel room. So what are you going to do? Like go in the hallway and have them scream? Like,
go in the ice room, the ice bucket room.
Right. So the night of his birthday, he is just screaming, and it's, 9:00, and we're dealing with that for 45 minutes. And then we get this knock on the door, It's like knock, 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 knock. Like, and we don't answer because he's screaming. We're like, maybe it's one of our family just trying to check on us, and it's just bam, 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 like a second knock. And we're like, oh shit. And some lady is standing there, backs away from the like the door, and like concerned, and she's like, it's just I'm just down the hall, and I'm like, I'm really concerned, and I'm like, it's my son, he's screaming, you can hear him in the background, like we're doing everything we can to calm him down. Like, well, we're really concerned. And I'm like, sorry,
Okay.
I like, what do you want me to do? And then he proceeds to cry for like another half hour of just screaming. It's just, he's hit his limit and all that. And it was just like one of those parenting moments where your just mind is fried and you're trying to do everything you can and you're probably doing everything wrong, but you're just like, we have nowhere to go. We're just trying to get him to calm down. And finally at like 11:30, he finally just passes out. And then like 4 a.m, you kind of hear him fussing and you're like, oh no, is he gonna get up? And he doesn't. And then we get up finally at like 6:30 and he is sleeping on a tile floor with no blankets, just laying on the floor sleeping. And you're just like, what is happening? So that was
Wow.
the excitement of a vacation. We were in the Bahamas, and that was the kind of peak stress. The rest of it was fine, but that was a night to remember, needless to say.
Bahamas, baby. 2K23.
Well,
that sounds intense.
it was.
It kind of sound, you bringing up epic hotel nights.
Yeah.
Reminds me of, I don't think we've ever talked about freshman year of high school going to Phoenix for our band trip. And
of course not.
It's Spenny and I, and then our friends, Alan, who's been on the show, and then our friend Matt, which we've talked about a lot. And
Yeah.
we're freshmen, right, in high school. We're in Phoenix, Arizona, and I don't know, we just get to the hotel. We're kind of getting our stuff in the room, and
getting acclimated.
I have two distinct memories of what like immediately preceded. You took off all your clothes, like you stripped down to your boxers straight immediately.
That's back in boxer days. Yeah.
And then you proceeded though to prop the door open with a binder that was in the hotel room.
Sure. I mean, why
you
not?
used it as a doorstop. So for no reason. I don't know why. You propped our door wide open.
Why a binder? No idea.
It was just available. It was almost like you looked for it. You anticipated this somehow. You you stripped down, you saw the binder, like, yep, grabbed it, opened the door, propped it under, kicked it under the door frame.
Well, yeah, couldn't find the Gideon Bible. Might as well just go for the binder.
And so his door is just open for a couple hours for no reason. And my friend Matt is unpacking, and for some reason I see in his bag, and he has a couple tins of Spam and all these balloons and these flip-flops, and it's all Spam themed.
Spam.
All of
Spam,
it. Spam sandals, Spam merch, balloons, Spam cans. And we said, Matt, what is this? What's going on here? And he said that his mom had packed it so that we could have a Spam party. So sure enough, we blew up those balloons, and we had ourselves a good old-fashioned Spam party.
And he had his
as freshman in high school.
His socks and broccoli rubber bands.
Yeah, those thick boys,
thick
right?
Veggie rubber bands or whatever.
Completely unnecessary to use rubber bands, right? Because you can just fold socks into themselves, right? That's one of the core features of a sock, right? Is that it's self-contained. And so he had probably 24 of these
Yeah.
rubber bands.
Right.
And so what preceded then was this all-out warfare with these rubber bands, just sniping these things at each other. And so anybody walking by this room, fucking high schoolers, right? We must have been 14 at this point,
Yeah,
right?
14 or
Anybody
15.
walking by,
Yeah,
we had just gotten
we
there.
weren't even 15 because it was like
Yeah,
January or whatever
yeah.
it was. Yeah.
And so just 4 kids just sniping each other with rubber bands. One of them's practically naked, and then spam balloons just littering the floor.
In the meantime, we were on Xbox, so we're just
oh playing. Yeah, hell yeah, we brought that Xbox.
That was what made our room. I mean, we were the party.
We were a party room.
In Xbox. It was what were we playing?
Twisted System or something. Basically, it was Halo, but it was just back then when you had Xbox games. Early Xbox games had these demo games that were a part of them, and there were 3 or 4 demo games, and one of the demo games was 24 mini games within it, and
it was sweet.
It was so cool. And yeah, I had a whole bunch of people in our room, and again, this is a high school band trip, and it's not like it was chaos, but it was more chaotic instantaneously than I'm thinking that anyone had anticipated. And
well, that was where our chaperone was Dan.
Oh, thanks, Dan.
And our friend Matt again. You know, every time Dan would come to check on us and make sure everything was okay, and then Matt would be like, "Thanks, Dan."
Thanks, Dan.
Before that funny like, yeah, you're welcome. Thanks.
The funny thing is, for all the chaos we just described, right? Every time the chaperone came by, perfect, like
perfect,
pristine, everything. And it's not like we were
clothes
troublemakers,
on,
right?
No rubber bands out.
It was just a tale of 2 rooms. Every time we kind of anticipated him to come around.
I mean, the craziest thing was playing video games. It's not like we were.
This is 2007, early 2007, and we're playing. Or not 2000, 2002. Yeah, 2002. Holy
21 years ago.
Holy smokes, man. Wow.
Fast.
Yeah.
But that was when we like one of the highlights of that. Well, we did talk a little bit because we talked about the pizza
the organ player.
The organ player.
I think that was our Chicago trip. Right?
No.
Okay.
That was the Phoenix trip, man.
Okay. All right. I don't know, man. I think we talked about Rawhide.
And we talked about Rawhide because I ripped my pants.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was the trip where they were like, we went to some store and then we bought a giant flashlight called the Midnight Sun.
Yeah. It was a 2 million candle power.
Candle power. Something light.
Yeah. This was one of those things where like only
it was at a sharper image or just the stupid stores.
And this was one of those things where this was just the logic of a 14-year-old, a group of 14-year-olds, right? Because it was
totally
we pooled our money to buy this, and it was one of those classic things. Okay, yeah, we're gonna switch off every other weekend or something. Who has it?
I never saw it after that trip.
It was so big though. The thing was like that,
man,
that huge at least, and then
it was massive, man. I mean, it was the size of your head.
I also remember from that trip. Well, obviously, I think that was the trip that a bunch of people got sick on, right, on the bus, and we had to pull over because people were puking, and puking. But that was the trip. I remember our friend Ian had, I think, the original iPod, and that thing was significantly cool.
Yeah. That was back then where it was just the keys would light up orange, weren't they? I think that's what.
Yeah, well, I think there were 4 buttons, and then there was the wheel. But I mean, most people had CD players still. the
Still,
portable
yeah.
CD players, and maybe someone had an MP3 player, but Ian having an iPod was that was out there.
He was next generation. It was pretty sweet.
So
That was
I don't
cool.
know. So, anyways,
I don't remember any of the movies that we watched when we went out there.
well, every
I was
band
trying to
trip
think.
that we ever went on was a run of Happy Gilmore,
Oh,
Billy
that's right.
Madison, and I think we always managed to sneak on Monty Python.
Oh, that's right. That was back when we were just pushing for Monty Python all the time. Monty Python,
Yeah.
Holy Grail. You need to
All
watch
the
that
girls
again.
on those buses just fucking hated it.
Fuck.
So, because I think one of us was always in charge of, or we always managed to take
Yeah.
control of the VCR, right?
Yep.
Up in the front of the bus.
Well, you can't just give up. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. That's good.
So, in terms of, it sounds like your night in the Bahamas was on par with
It was a journey.
our crazy antics of 2022 or 2002.
2002, which is crazy. Can't imagine that. Can't believe it's been that long. We're getting old.
Yep.
Yeah.
Last episode, I believe, you said you had a typical day in your back pocket. Do you remember what that was, or is that lost to the lost history?
Gosh, what was the typical day back then? Way back when, 3 months ago.
Because I told the story of the guy coming to fix the toilet, and you said you had one, but then, so I guess we might have to cut this part.
Cut it.
Can't think about it.
I can't think of what it is. I can't.
Fair enough. All right. It's been fucking 3 months.
Good.
I mean, this is a typical day, not having even a story to tell.
Glad. Well, the night in Bahamas, so that was a typical day.
Yeah, that's pretty typical. I mean, I assume it was your parents just holding up with sugar.
Probably.
Were they the culprits?
I mean, it was probably a combination of multiple things. I don't think he had a nap that day, and then sugar and whatever else. But
were you staying at the place where there's the water slide where that went down the hole? Yeah, I remember seeing commercials for that as a kid, thinking that was insane.
Didn't get to go on that, but yes, I think.
Why not?
Some people did in our group. Well, it's one of those things where like your kids have to be old enough, and then when they're not old enough, you can't partake in everything. But it sounds like it was pretty fun. One of the things, another bummer was like our daughter is like you have to be 48 inches tall to go on tube slides and all that stuff, and she's like 48 inches. But we got on the slide, getting ready to go. We're doing a double tube, and right as we're about to get over the crest, like it's this conveyor belt up, and then you drop down. Right as she's up at the top, they do a switch of lifeguards, and like she was gonna go, and then all of a sudden they switch guards, and the new guard's like, go stand up next to the post, let's see how tall you are. And she was like this short.
Shoot.
A millimeter short.
Well, what
like,
the heck?
No, you can't go. And it was like, what?
Gee whiz.
We go all the way and you got to do it.
So did you have to do a walk of shame down the stairs and stuff?
Yeah, we had to walk back down. But
well, shoot.
Yeah. Kid can swim, but he can't go down the water slide. But whatever.
Sounds like zero fun.
Yeah. Fun suckers.
Well, gee whiz.
Gee whiz, man.
Small update. Recent update. Brand new update.
Yeah.
I got, and now I've been talking, it's almost like every other episode we come on and I bitch about getting to work, right? Parking and not wanting to pay for it.
Yes.
Well, I found the final form.
He's hacked it. He's hacked the system.
I am in my final form now. Sorry. your boy got himself an electric scooter, and scooter as in a push scooter. I have minimized the time it takes to get to work down to 13 minutes. And this is transformative because despite living a short 2.6 miles away from work, it has taken me 30 minutes to either drive my mile and walk a mile, or what I was doing last week was I was just trying it out, walking the whole way. It takes 45 minutes one way. Walking is fine, but who has 90 minutes a day to commute? Right. Especially when I live this close, right? It's unacceptable. Right. So thought about all the options. An electric scooter is what I landed on. I can take all the back roads, cut through, do this hybrid sidewalk road approach. And I'm screaming. Oh yeah. Do heavy grinds.
But you can also scream all the way to your door, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you have to park and then walk. Like you're just flying to the door.
Yep. Straight there. Walk in.
That's next level.
Hike that thing on my back and like no, I don't bring it in, but
hey guys.
Yeah.
Now my tires still smoking.
Now where I parked it last week, not only was there an identical other scooter parked right next to it when I came out of work, but there were, I think, 4 or 5 scooters chained up.
What's your differentiator then?
Got
tape on there or?
Mine, my lock that I got
straps
is a set of handcuffs, basically. Let me hang on a second. I'll grab them.
Furry ones or. As Jad walks off screen, he's going to go get those handcuffs with deep anticipation as we await what these handcuffs look like.
Okay.
Here we go. And here they come.
These are beefy ones, boy.
Those are really hard handcuffs.
They're legitimately handcuffs. Let's see, for the audio only listeners, I'll see if I can do some ASMR here. If you can.
These are metal handcuffs. Ooh. Look at that.
One more here. Yep.
So
these are giant.
It's a metal chain, right? And then it's wrapped in what?
Yep.
Like some sort of fabric.
Some kind of webbing.
Kind of like a webbing.
Canvasy type thing.
Yeah, the black canvas. And then the actual cuffs have the same stuff on them.
Yep. Wow. Kind of rubbery type stuff.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And they came with this goofy ass. It looks like carbon fiber, but it's just rubber, but a little basically fanny pack for the scooter to store these. I'll put a picture up in the edit, but
fanny pack.
That's the best I can describe it. It velcros onto the stem and the post. So
hold on, guys.
Hold on. So, anyways, this ain't going anywhere. So that's how I differentiate it, because nobody else has handcuffs for their scooter.
I believe that. Well, that's great. That's awesome. I'm glad you hacked the system that way.
Yep. Now, how
long does it take to charge that baby?
If I deplete it, the battery, about 6 hours. But
what's the range?
The range is about 18. So I can like every other day and charge it at night, something like that.
Yeah. You could basically go downtown Nashville with that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And back. Easy.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Just bring the handcuffs. No one's going to walk off away with it. So, anyways, there's a clear dub.
You can citizen arrest with those, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So it's kind of an end of an era. I don't know what the hell else I'm going to bitch about.
Well, how fast does it go? That would be.
It says it goes about. I think I cap out downhill because it governs. It governs to 23 downhill. On the flat, it goes about 18, I think.
That's pretty fast, though.
Yeah. It does struggle on hills. It's not great. And I live in a hilly area. So.
Don't you start off uphill, don't you?
Yeah. So it's a bit slow. So, but just think about how quick I could get to work if I was 2.6 flat miles away.
Yeah. Or
It's
if you would have bought
it's
if you would have bought an e-bike, I mean, that could have
yes, but
been
here's
the
the
next step up.
yeah, here's why I didn't go e-bike, because that may have been the first thing people thought of. The whole garage that I'm in, fully as a workshop now, no space for a bike. In fact, I sold my bike.
Sure.
So scooter fits perfectly in here.
It folds, right?
Folds.
Put it away.
What else do you need to know about it?
Just throw it in the bush. just get home, just fold it, throw it.
Tie it up against the around the post or the column for the house. Just like make an iron ring out there, just wrap it around.
Do you wear a helmet?
Yes, I still had my bike helmet.
So you kept that.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And I wear my bike gloves. They're just little, if I wipe out, I'm not going to scrape up my hand too much.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, because safety first,
Well, I mean, you're a dad now. So
I'm a dad now. I can't be. That's why I sold the motorcycle. If I didn't care about that, I would still have the motorcycle, and this wouldn't be a problem.
Right.
But
did you sell your leather jacket? Did you have a riding jacket?
I still have all the motorcycle gear, so I could go full face tinted helmet.
Whoa! Look at that guy. He's so fast.
So, yeah, that's an update. It's the real deal. Nice. Final form. Now, I would argue that I could get to work faster on the scooter than the motorcycle, because all the back roads I can take, I avoid all the major intersections and traffic and stuff. So,
do you have any concerns about the size of the tires? Or like the tires big enough?
They're 10 inches, baby.
Okay. All right.
Run flat tires.
In fact, it's free right there, baby.
Yep, I just topped them off with air today. Did a little maintenance work on it. Which was not trivial, I have to say, because I have this air compressor that I was trying to blow up these fucking 10-inch wheels. And the second I put compressed air into it, it was like maxed out. And I was trying to get like dialed into this very narrow range. And it took many attempts to get them where I wanted them, because as quickly as they would inflate, they would deflate if I looked at them. If I looked at the valve,
yeah,
it'd be completely gone. So
that's awesome.
But I got a dial, baby.
Nice. Good on you.
Yep. One last update maybe before we talk about this movie.
Sure.
I think this is another thing that we talk about in opposition every other time we record, as a function of the frequency with which we've recorded. Mm-hmm. Last time we were all pretty confident about our non-fat face challenge fitness regimens that we had going on. So just as we had taken our first summer break, and between the previous episode and then our most recent episode, we had started working out like crazy.
Yep.
We have not done a damn thing since the last episode.
Absolutely nothing. Just a couple piles of shit.
But here's what I think, Spenny. This is actually a good thing. Because with our track record, it's like snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap. We're on it. We're off it. We're on it. We're off it. Since we've been off of it, I bet that by the next episode, we're going to be back on it. And so this was just the thing we needed.
Dude, we were just hitting it hard. Next time we're on, like, oh man, I've just been killing it for the last 2 months.
Like we have in the past, we're probably going to go too hard right away.
Turbo boner. Yep.
Burn out. Take another 2 months off. and just could keep fucking yo-yoing our 30s away. Because really, this is this is really our last opportunity to achieve any kind of goal that we think we might have, right?
Yeah.
It's still achievable right now, but only right now. Because if we keep fucking yo-yoing the way we are, it's gonna
eventually
be
we're just gonna
so much worse.
It's like your foot is healing, then you just beat the shit out of it, so you can't work out, then you try it up again, your foot immediately hurts, and it's just like
that's the biggest thing.
When is anything gonna get right?
I know. And now
we're just broken forever.
Yeah, I do have to take maybe 1% of the blame here with my foot, because I saw a physical therapist for a while, and she got me back. No pain in my foot at all. Not walking, not standing around. Good to go. And she told me, as probably any good physical therapist would do, she said, number one, don't go straight back into what you were doing. Ease into it. And in fact, don't even try to just go out and run. Maybe just walk a little bit, run a little bit, walk a little bit, run a little bit,
Can't do that.
Don't run on the hills that you've been running on. Try and run on a treadmill or do an elliptical or something.
Can't do that.
And don't ever do it without the ankle brace that you got. So,
I didn't know
saw
about
my
the
PT for the last time, and foot was feeling great. So I went out one early morning. I didn't warm the fuck up. I didn't put my fucking ankle brace on. I didn't do shit. I walked out the door and started running. And sure as shit, by the end of that mile, my foot was exploded.
That's awesome.
So I only have 1% of myself to blame for this, I think.
Just 1%.
Yeah, but I do have to.
You should wear the ankle brace. I mean, if they gave
it's
it to you.
Literally the least I could have done.
Right.
I mean, I could have still not warmed up. I could have still not walked a little bit. It didn't have to be at 5 a.m.
I was never prescribed an ankle brace, but I wore it all the time for Y-ball because I rolled my ankle once. And so I decided I'm just going to wear an ankle brace.
Those are Blue Star days?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Back in the day where you played Y-ball and was it freshman year, sophomore year, junior year? I can't remember. High school.
I think must have been senior year because I would have been able to drive to it.
I never made a free throw. Entire season. I don't even know if I scored any points. I felt so confident in my ability. It was like junior year, we did some sort of class versus the teachers or something fundraiser. And we played at the gym at high school, and I fucking made a layup, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm so good at basketball. I should have gone out for the team. Let's do Y-ball. And I never made a point. I couldn't even score. I couldn't even make a free throw.
Yeah, we weren't great, right?
No.
I do remember
we had a couple people that were athletes.
Yeah.
But
I
were not basketball people.
I may have gotten an opportunity to shoot a free throw, and I may have scored a free throw. Nice. That may have been my total contribution, right? But I do remember our friend Brad would not do anything other than chill back. He wouldn't play any defense because he would just stay back at our side and cherry pick. And people would throw him the ball and he wouldn't do a layup. He'd just stand behind the 3-point line and try and shoot 3-pointers.
Dude, man, he was ahead of the game. It was kind of like him playing ultimate frisbee.
Bradley Boomerang, right?
He would just sit at the other side, and then somebody would lob him the ball, and then he'd go, Bradley Boomerang.
Because I don't think he meant to do a boomerang, right? He wanted to throw it far, he just couldn't, and it just went back
every time. That seems on brand for him, though. I mean, He's a funny guy.
Yeah. So
Shout out, Brad.
point is, we've been slacking, injured.
Mm-hmm.
We've been on injured reserve, I would say.
Yeah.
But if we can get healed up, there's no limits.
I mean,
we're getting back into it.
I feel like the more we work out, the better this podcast is. The less we work out, the less often we record this podcast.
That's actually a great observation. I mean, the more we work out,
when we were beating the living shit out of each other for the Fat Face Challenge, we recorded every week, despite the fact that we were both exhausted because
that may have been peak
trying to
8 to
close
10.
out those stupid rings on our watch.
That may have been the golden years of 8 to 10 podcast.
Yeah,
it's all downhill now.
Well, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
It's speaking of, I think this week we've got Highlander, which what you watched 2 months ago, and
yeah, we're recording this on September 17th, and I watched that movie on July 30th. Well, so just like the last one, this is going to be hard for me to keep straight.
Well, thankfully I watched it more recently. I watched it this week.
Okay.
So
okay.
We'll try to keep it together. But
okay.
This was an 80s movie. Like, I remember, I think I saw this, when I was younger, but it's 1986 Highlander. I don't know. This one was kind of a hard one to put my finger on whether it was like, is this good or is this bad or what is this movie?
Yeah, it's kind of one of those just weird 80s movies that's probably was good at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason it might not be good now is because it's just a little kind of goofy. So, yeah, I don't know. It's when I picked it, I just picked it because I had never seen it before, and I knew it was oldish, and I figured we could, probably dunk on it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Well, do you have a synopsis so that I can remember? Okay, great.
I threw a synopsis together. I don't know if this will help you or hurt you.
Okay, great.
What I put together. All right, here we go. This is Highlander. In this wild 80s adventure, an immortal Scotsman named Connor MacLeod slashes his way through history while avoiding hair salons and death. Along the way, he faces off against other immortals in epic sword fights, all while being pursued by a guy with an even weirder accent and a ginormous sword. Who will be the last one standing, and can Connor figure out how to stop the being stabbed before it's too late?
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
I think that was helpful.
I mean, so the way this movie starts, and I think this is a big piece. So there's a opening scene where it has this voiceover, and it's some old guy, and he's like, "For the dawn of time they came, moving silently through the centuries, living secret lives, struggling to reach the time of the gathering. When few who remain will battle to the last. No one has ever known us among you until now." And then it cuts to a wrestling match. And then there's these guys just wrestling, and then it cuts, and it's like a drone flying up to the top of this stadium. But it's I don't know if it's on a string or something back in the 80s, and it just cuts to MacLeod just sitting there totally sulking and just
totally miserable, right?
Yeah, totally miserable, wearing a trench coat at some wrestling match
and a suit, right? He's wearing a suit at the wrestling match.
The whole time he's just totally out of character. It's just But after that, it moves to the parking garage. He he keeps having, there's these visions that keep coming back of like Scotland and then like back to present time. And then he's just like, oh, I'm just going to go to the parking garage. And then there's just this fucking epic battle. All of a sudden, like the cars are flashing and all like the lights are flickering. And then some old dude, like Burt Macklin style FBI, is wearing these sunglasses with a katan just ready to sword fight him.
Yeah.
And they both start fighting each other. And it's just like this epic battle of them like running across these cars and stuff, fighting.
Oh yeah.
And then like the ending is like he's hiding behind one car and this bad guy's coming up, and then he jumps up and they're sword fighting, and then it's the cut of like his face, and then right when he's about ready to strike him and cut his head off, like, you know, it becomes a mannequin and just goes just cuts his head off. And then like everything freaks out and there's like electricity flying around, and all of a sudden he's like levitating, and then it's just like the police come and he runs away.
Was this the fight that the other guy that shows up at one point, he runs away, right? But doesn't he run away by doing like 50 backflips in a row?
Yeah, this guy does kind of, but like he does that, but then he doesn't actually leave. It's like he's hiding.
Okay.
And then the fight just keeps going on.
Okay.
And then this is where it just keeps flashing back and forth between like him being in Scotland and then him being back in the present day. And then like it flashes like he's part of the MacLeod group or family, and they're from Scotland, and they're getting ready for some big epic battle in 1536, and bagpipes are playing. And
oh yeah, are they like the old timey drummers, like Revolutionary War drummers that are that the army marches in step, but it's just bagpipes?
Yeah.
Like the least syncopated thing ever.
Yeah. But it's like, and it's like this battle in Scotland, and like he's one of the leaders, like he's the Highlander, Connor MacLeod. And there's this other guy that's wearing like this skull helmet, and he's like, there's one, I don't care about anybody else but this one, Connor, save him for me. So MacLeod is just walking onto the battlefield like, fight me. And all these guys are like, oh, no. Like everyone backs away from him. And he's like, well, what the heck? Like, why won't anybody fight me? And finally, like this guy with the skull helmet comes up to him and immediately just stabs him. And he's just like, MacLeod is instantly just destroyed.
Taken out, right?
And
this
he's about ready
general.
he's about ready to get his head cut off, and then his friend knocks the other guy over, and they bring him back, and then you find out basically that he's immortal because they thought he was going to die that night, and then the next morning he's just like, oh, hey guys, what's up?
Oh yeah, then it was like the scene from Monty Python, right, where they're all like, burn him, he's a witch.
Exactly.
Burn him.
It's the devil. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Cast out, right? Burn him.
Well, he's in one of those things where like they hold your arms back like a vice back in the day.
Stockade type.
Yeah, stockade thing. And they're like, get out of here. So he's running up this hill with a stockade, like
the Highlands of Scotland, right? Yeah. How does he get out? I don't know. He's got an entire life, like immortal life, to figure that out, right?
Yeah, and then suddenly he's just out of it, and it just keeps flashing back and forth. But he's back in New York, and he's apparently some sort of antique dealer named Nash.
Okay. Yep.
And the forensics lady that came to the scene where the guy got his head cut off is like, she's like obsessed with swords, and she wrote a book on swords. And she just happens to find like the bad guy's sword that got his head cut off. And she's like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, this sword's $1 million. And then she's like, interesting. And she goes to like a beam with a metal detector. He's like, ding, 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 ding. And she finds this tiny little piece of metal, and she dates this tiny piece of metal back to like 600 BC. And she's like, this doesn't make any sense. This
Japanese didn't have steel then or something.
Yeah,
right?
The metal I found was folded 200 times. from a tiny sliver.
Yeah, she finds an atom of the steel.
It was just like, I don't know.
Yeah, there's no reason to look over there too, right? Because it was like on the other side of the parking lot,
it
right?
didn't make any sense.
The
Well, like,
dead
she's
bodies
just-
are over here, and then she goes fucking way over and 40 rows over.
Yeah. It was like, she's just like, I have this hunch, like, I'm gonna find more. I just have to go back. Like, no one's there. It's pitch black, and she's just there by herself, just like, oh,
Well,
let me see what I can find.
did the body disappear, or was it still there?
Yeah, that was the weird part. So like, the cars start freaking out, and then you see this like electricity kind of funneling through the body, and then it kind of floats it off.
Yeah.
And then he gets like this electric current that levitates him.
Okay.
And
yeah.
then he gets like power, and then everything kind of stops, and then he runs off.
But there
But
was
yeah, the bad guy.
The body did go disappear, or was it still there for the cops to find?
I think
Because there was no reason for the cops to
No.
come, right?
Yeah, I think the body was still there, but some sort
Okay.
of part of his body, some part of the soul or something was taken
Okay.
and lifted up. Because yeah, otherwise it would make sense.
Because I was just wondering why did the cops show up at all? Because they were in they were in this parking lot alone, right?
Yeah,
and then they're like the cops are showing up like someone had died.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense why they came, because unless they could hear like all the cars going off or whatever, but it's not like they could hear the fighting, and it's not like there was any eyewitnesses to the fight.
So there's some car alarms going off. Must be a murder happening. We got to get all units report, right? Get the sword lady down there. Right? It's like, why was she there? She was there at the same time, right? She showed up with the cops. There must have been a sword around here,
right?
Because all these car alarms are going off. And yet she finds an atom of steel 50 beams away, and yet she couldn't find his sword that he left on top of the light fixture, right?
Just lobs it up like, I'm gonna come back for this later. Well, it was because he stormed. I think it was that night that it happened. I think he stormed off in his car. He was stormed off in his Porsche.
Oh yeah.
But like, as the cops were coming, so they stopped him and then they arrested him. And it was this big thing where like they're trying to figure out who this guy was and what he was doing there. And obviously someone had died there, and that's where it kind of all started developing of like, who is this guy and what happened. But it was just like the way, I mean, 80s film, right? So one of the police that were interrogating him is like, they're like, "What, did you know this guy?" And he's like, "No, I didn't know who he was." And then one of the cops just goes, "You a Nash?" It's like, "No."
What?
And he's like, "Well, this is what I think. I think you went down to the garage for a and didn't want to pay for it, so you cut his head off." And he's like, "With a sword?"
Yeah, that was different times, I guess.
Yeah.
It was just
like, whoa.
in the movie.
Yeah. But meanwhile, there's this bad guy that had the skull helmet, is now in the present day, and he's still hunting the Highlander, and he drives just this massive Cadillac, and he's just listening to the news, and they're like, unknown suspect is caught, someone with a sword and their head cut off, and he's like, "I know who that is." And he's just walking around, and he checks into some like, hostel, and it's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna put my sword together, my giant broadsword that comes in 5 pieces and clicks together."
Yeah. I'm gonna
like,
get this set up for 2 weeks later, right? But I need to have it set up now.
Yeah.
Right.
But he's, how the Harlem Globetrotters have those balls and they like put them in their arm and they're kind of shaking them around. That's what he was doing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He was spinning, and he was like,
was there a music montage happening at the same time, or was it just silence and him just going? It was just
silence and him just going, and then just spinning his sword and like just was just awesome.
So at this point, was his neck safety pinned together? Or because I
No,
remember that
it
in the
had the
church, right?
scar. Yeah, it had the
Okay.
scar. Yeah. At the end, at the end, it's Halloween.
Oh, right. Okay.
So that's why he literally puts safety pins all across his neck like Frankenstein, and then he shaves his head except for a piece that's just like on the side, and it's just like this long hair that like drapes down on the side of
Yeah.
his neck.
But why did he do that again? Just because it's Halloween? Or
He said, "I'm in costume or something." It didn't make any like, who knew who this guy was in the first place?
oh, did he say I'm in disguise?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, nobody knows his identity, right?
No.
So-
Well, the part you're talking about too is like he's talking really loud and he's swearing and being like boisterous, and like the priest comes over and is like, "There's people praying. Please stop doing that." And then he's like, "Oh,
yeah.
I'm so sorry." And then he just starts licking his hand. He starts licking the priest's hand, and then he just says, "It's better to burn than to fade away." And he just spins and looks at the father and then walks out. It's just like, what is that?
Wasn't he was that scene, was he like the two nuns walked by, right? And didn't he like make some kind of obscene gesture to them?
Yes. It was
Oh,
what is it with churches?
I know. Holy
It was
smokes.
funny though. It was funny.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know. There's
that
this like,
guy-
yeah,
That guy's name is Kurgan or Kurgan. He's a part of a Kurgan. I don't know what
Kerrigan.
exactly. Kurgan.
He's a Kurgan.
He's a Kurgan. Kurgan Hugan.
Okay, so at some point in his flashbacks, Nash meets up with Sean Connery, right? And Sean Connery like trains him.
Sean Connery's literally just peacocking.
Oh.
He literally has
Yeah.
this just red velvet suit on, and he's got
Oh, yeah.
peacock feathers coming out of his collar, and he's just basically like, "I'm gonna teach you the ways of the Highlander, and I'm gonna show you how to fight. And you're immortal; you can't die. We need to practice your balance." And he just pushes him off a boat one time, and he sinks to the bottom. He's like, "I'm gonna die," and he's like, I can talk underwater. I can breathe."
Yeah, as if getting stabbed through the heart made breathing underwater seem ridiculous, right?
Right. There is a funny scene, and it doesn't have to do with Sean Connery, but there's a scene where like they cut to the Highlander is drunk, McLeod's drunk, and he's fighting some guy, and he just keeps getting stabbed over and over, and the guy's just like, "Why won't this guy?"
Oh,
die?
yeah.
He just keeps stabbing.
He's like French dueling, right? Or something.
Yeah.
Or like
He's French dueling, and he just keeps getting stabbed. And finally, the guy is so mad at like the person that set up the fight, like his second-hand man or the hand of whoever this guy is, and he brings out guns to him, and the guy just turns around and just shoots the guy the hand instead of the cloud, and just that's how it ends. That's the end of the scene, and you're like,
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
What's happening?
And so
this movie cuts back and forth, like it's
yeah, you kind of see how Nash, because he's immortal, he's lived. I mean, he was born in Scotland, right? And so had a childhood, I guess.
Yep.
But then from, what'd you say, the 1500s? Or
1536 is the first time they quote date.
Okay.
Anything.
So then he becomes an adult and then just lives as a 20-something through the rest of European and American history. And that's why he has this huge collection, antique collection, right? And is super rich because I guess he's just become rich from having unlimited time.
Well, he sees Brenda is this forensics lady, and he goes to her apartment, and he brings a brandy from 1783, and he talks about how that's a good year, and it was like the year that the English, like acknowledged that the United States was its own country and all this other stuff. But yeah, that was one of the kind of big things. He like had this brandy from 200 and some years ago.
Well, and he has this kind of shrine room, right? He has this penthouse antique thing, but then a sunken couch, full of all his trinkets, or all his trinkets are around him, right? And he just kind of goes in there and looks at him. And so I guess we should say, the whole point of this movie is that there is I guess a finite number of immortals,
right?
And that need to systematically kill each other so that there is only one.
Right.
The whole time they say there can only be one. There's more than one for the entire time.
At all times, there's always more than one.
Yeah, and so then, and for some, I guess they know when another Highlander is near them, right? So they get this like battle sense or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what it's called. I think it's called the what's the word? Let's see if
something. Yeah, they sense something. Although Sean Connery was another Highlander, right, and for reasons that weren't explained, trains Nash.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Like why he trains him and doesn't try and kill them.
Yeah,
like because it seems like once one dies, it seems like they kind of
absorb their powers or something, right?
Absorb their powers or some sort. Yeah.
So a bit of a weird thing that I don't think it ever gets explained. And I think at one point Nash even asks him, he says, what's up? Why are you doing this? And he goes,
I think they called it the quickening.
Okay, that sounds right.
Yeah, so the quickening, and it's like this, like they can feel it. Like when Sean Connery shows up, McLeod is like, ugh, like he can feel his presence before he's there.
Right.
But the ultimate like showdown is called the Gathering, which is supposed to be this epic last battle between Kurgan and
the Gathering certainly implies that it's a crowd, right? Because do two people gather? I don't know. Because at that point, it seems like the gathering only happens when there's only two of them left. So I don't know.
I don't know.
Those two people gathered. I guess that fits. But yeah, so then, okay, I'm remembering this scene, the last scene where they're fighting and stuff. And, it's the climax of the movie. And what does the cinematographer zooms way out so you can't see anything. Yeah. It builds and builds and builds to this final battle, and then it's just like a postage stamp size image of the screen. It's just fucking zoomed so far out you can't see anything until one of them dies. And
well, there's also the first time that Kurgan and Highlander meet. There's this like epic battle that they have, and then all of a sudden just a copter shows up randomly.
Oh, in that alley,
just
right?
Spotlight, and they're like, "Hey, what are you guys doing? You should stop.
Hold it. Put those swords down."
Where the hell did these people come from?
Yeah, and so I don't know. They have the final battle. I don't know if there's anything in the middle of it.
No, I mean, honestly, this flipped back and forth so many times, but there wasn't anything that like was really driving the story other than just kind of continuing to give you backstory of the fact that he's immortal, he can't have kids, and like that's it. Like sucks to suck.
There can only be one, and yet there's many for most time, right? If this is, there's been these if there have been these immortals for all of time, and there can only be one ever.
Yep.
There have been more than one for more time than there's ever been only one.
Yep.
But once he becomes the one, he can
Becomes
mind
mortal.
read everybody or something. Like he has the power to influence people's decisions or something, right?
Well, maybe, but it also talks about he talks about at the end that he's able to have kids now, and it doesn't make sense because he can become he's mortal now. And I was like, well, so this whole thing was to become mortal and die. Like, what is happening?
I didn't catch. I don't remember that at all because I remember him.
It's this random ending. So he takes Brenda, who's the forensics girl, and they are on like Scotland Highlands, just standing, and there's this like voiceover, and all of a sudden there's this jet, a CGI jet that flies over, and you're like, what the fuck is this? And then he is sitting next to Brenda, and they're having a picnic, and he's talking about the fact that he can have kids now, and he's mortal, and how things are going to be different. And it's
Well, wait a minute. I thought, didn't he like transcend the astral plane and could see all points of all time at once?
I don't know.
Right?
That's what he said at the end. That's why I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Unless
That's
I
the
just
point of this
totally
movie.
misunderstood the whole thing, but I was like, this doesn't make sense.
So wait,
The ending was so bizarre.
I thought this whole thing was there were randomly this power. Few of you are immortal.
Yeah.
Duke it out so that only one of you survives, and then you're going to get godlike powers. And so when he does that, he says,
"There can only be one.
I want to fuck." I don't care about all that. I don't know. Okay, that made the movie kind of worse in my opinion now that about this ending.
Well, so Christopher Lambert, the guy that plays Highlander, this was like one of his first roles speaking English, and he wasn't very good at speaking English, so he had to work with a dialect teacher or coach, and that's why his dialect is like not specific to any sort of language. Right. It's like this weird, like when he's talking to somebody from New York, like it doesn't sound like a New York accent. For in Scotland, it doesn't sound like Scottish. Like you're like, well, what is this?
Yeah.
And they intentionally made it so it was non-specific. So he had to like basically learn a different accent.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that makes sense. It makes sense from the plot perspective, right? Because he's spoken so many languages across time that it would make sense that it's like, mixed and stuff. But I thought that was just a kind of I thought he was from the United States and made up this accent, and I was kind of impressed with it. But now I guess it's either way, right? It was a made up accent. So
yep. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that might be the most interesting part of this movie. It's
like I don't know. It's one of those movies where it's during the time it's probably fine, but hasn't aged very well. I don't know.
There was a show, right?
It's not like there was a show more recently, but it's one of those. It's just a movie where it's like I don't know.
It's at this point it's kind of a who cares. I
fully hate it,
right?
But at the same time, it was one of those kind of who care movies.
I'm never going to watch it again, right?
No, never.
Well, this is the part of the show where we give things ratings. This is the Ascension to 10 podcast. We rate movies on an 11-point scale, Ascension being the worst thing you've ever seen and a 10 being the best thing you've ever seen. Spenny, how do you rate Highlander?
Highlander, I'm giving a 3.4.
3.4. Pretty generous. That puts that slightly worse than Waterworld for you.
Yeah.
But better than, a lot of things. About the same as John Carter for you, I guess. 3.5.
Yeah, Carter. Yeah, that sounds right.
Which is interesting because I was going to give this a 4, which is the same score I gave John Carter. So we're kind of on the same page of what we think this is about, or what we think this is equivalent to.
And do it. I could tell. So, I could feel the vibes.
Yeah. The Krugen guy was pretty funny. Now that I remember it,
The Kruger
remembering
guy
him
was
more.
really funny, and there was a scene where like this, I don't know, this guy that was like crazy, like gun obsessed guy is just like roaming the streets, and all of a sudden
Oh,
he cuts,
yeah.
and there's this. He just sees a sword fight, and he backs up, and he sees the Kurgan fighting some other Highlander in the movie, and he starts getting his Uzi out, and he watches Kurgan cut off the other Highlander's head, and then he gets his Uzi and just starts unloading on the Kurgan, and he's like,
Right.
yeah. And he's like, I unloaded enough, lead to kill a rhino. And then the Kurgan just kind of stands up behind him and just stabs him, and then just walks away. And then it's just like, what?
Yeah. Especially that church scene, though, was legitimately
church
funny.
Scene is funny.
But I don't know if it was supposed to be, though,
He
right?
walks in and he uses his fingers to put all the
he snuffs out all the
candles
prayer candles. But him saying he's in disguise when nobody knows who he is in the first place, right? And he shaved his head, but I think they just put a bald cap on him because his head went from a normal sized head to just, it looked like an egg head. Like so much extra stuff was there.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was awesome.
All right.
It was fine.
Yep. This was our 50th I guess regular scheduled show. So congrats on 50. I mean, I think this is probably 53 or 54 or something, but in reality,
yeah.
But
no,
nice job, man.
Number
we did
50.
it.
We did it.
Well, what is number 51?
I've been trying to figure that out for like the last 5 minutes because I forgot to pick something.
I do remember. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, what?
Well, I thought you said that maybe this was off air. I thought you said we're doing Evil Dead or something.
Oh, we did talk about that. Yeah, that was one of the shows that we got recommended.
Okay.
We could do that. Yeah. No, let's do it. Evil Dead.
We're doing it. We're doing it.
That's another 80s one, right?
Yeah. We're doing it.
Okay, we're doing it. Evil Dead.
Evil Dead. Okay.
Yeah, let's do Evil Dead. That one, what's that from? 1981? Sounds right.
Solid.
Yeah. Let's do it. It's got Bruce Campbell in it.
We're doing it.
That's to be good. Look forward to it. That's the guy with the chainsaw, right? His arm chainsaw.
Yeah.
All right. Sweet.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about that a long time ago. I feel like we've talked about it as friends, but yeah. Let's do
as
it.
friends.
Friends.
We talked about it as friends.
We'll talk about it as friends.
Yeah,
but yeah,
probably.
let's do Evil Dead.
All right.
We're doing
Sounds good. Coming to you soonish.
Soonish. Not putting a timestamp on that one. It'll be after September 17th. Right.
Oh, so will this one. I mean, this one's going to be out after September 17th. Yeah.
All right, fine. Well, no, this is good. It's good to get back in the saddle.
That's right.
Knock it out.
Yeah.
What do we got? You can find us on our socials. That's ascension2tn.com. You can find us at our website, ascension2tn.com. You can email us, boys, at ascension10.com if you have any typical day stories or recommendations for later episodes.
Or anything. Please do it. We want to hear from you.
Yeah. I like to hear funny stories. So
that's right.
Do it.
Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching if you've made it this far.
Yep.
Bye.
Jad, I'm Spenny. Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to Ascension to 10.